sound testing if we use mics, if it'll pick it up. So it's not correct.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, are we going to use these? All right. Thank you. Not check the box on that one. I'm happy to do it again.
But they can read out loud.
It's Austin. Right.
Just like the, yeah. Had Whitney Houston do it. Yeah. How'd you know this? Yeah.
Robbie, Jan.
I haven't had it, so I don't want to say. All right.
What? Can I bring it?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. No, I don't like to use a stand.
Oh, okay.
You're good. I thought you meant like stand up.
Alrighty, we are going to try this again, but we are going to start at 1.3, so we already called to order and did the pledge. So 1.3, we were talking about a couple of adjustments with adding public comment to the agenda. And board comments. So we could add public comment. We could just add it to after 1.3 like we normally do.
That's fine.
And then we will add board comments before 4.
Appreciate it.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. So on that note, then we will go ahead with any public comment. And I'm not seeing any. Okay. 2.1, new business to approve an overnight trip for the Oak Hill High School Academic Decathlon to MIT in Cambridge for the Academic Decathlon State Championship on March 6th through 7th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
If you don't mind. So this was brought forth by Derek Anderson, who's the advisor for Academic Decathlon. In the last couple of years, the Academic Decathlon group has had the opportunity to attend championships. Some of them have been national championships, which is great. This one happens to be, since there isn't a state championship for Academic Decathlon in Maine this year, they would be attending the state championship in Massachusetts. And so that's to get them some experience, obviously, at that level, hopefully qualifying for the national competition. As far as specific details with this trip, as far as overnight travel, so on and so forth, I don't necessarily have that information. John, I don't know if you do, just in regards to, like, if they're taking the train. I mean, usually they take the train. Yeah. Do you want to? Oh, thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it.
That was my understanding, is they were going to take the train down and then typical overnight accommodations, same arrangements that we would usually use,
Mhm.
and then participate. And like Marco said, just getting some experience as they would prepare to go to California, and not being able to have that competition here in Maine.
Mhm.
So I think it's a good opportunity for them. So it gets them, on
Ready to
MIT
go.
campus, all those things, and it's kind
Yeah.
of nice. So
This is something that they've done
Year-
for many years in a row. But appreciate, obviously, people's flexibility. The date of this trip would have happened prior to our next official board meeting, so it wouldn't have been approved. So that's why we adjusted the agenda to make that accommodation. You're all set, John. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, for discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, thank you. And good luck to them.
Doug's taking notes. You're good. You're good.
All right, on to number 3. Fiscal year 27. Fiscal year? Yeah, fiscal year 27. I'm like, because I usually do school year, right? It's usually SY. I'm like, why are you in fiscal? Budget discussion. So we're going to review cost centers 1 and 2. And Marco, is this your presentation?
It is, yes. So I appreciate everyone being here this evening to discuss our initial budget workshop and the hard work that's gone into putting this together. We'll have the presentation projected behind me on the TV here in just a moment, but you do have the slides or the presentation in front of you in a paper copy while that is loaded up. And, you know, essentially I'll launch right into it. We've got a lot to cover, and I just want to make sure we have plenty of time for any questions or, you know, additional information that you might need moving forward, okay? So before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everybody as far as this process is concerned. You know, there's obviously a number of people involved in this to make it happen. And obviously the board, you know, setting some parameters and goals to get started. Our administrators and directors for their hard work with their departments and schools, you know, the teachers and administrative assistants that help, you know, give input and help compile all the information. It's a team effort. I'm excited to share essentially our findings at this point in time. So the second slide that you can see just below the title slide there is just formatting more than anything else. We'll take a look at reviewing budget drivers and board goals. We'll take a look tonight, as Nicole said, at Article or Cost Center 1, regular instruction, and Article or Cost Center 2, special education. And just a fun fact, in between each one of those cost centers, or after each one of the kind of overview that I give, Sam is going to do a deep dive with you guys on the line by line. So we'll do an overview. I'll do the overview. Sam will do line by line. Justin, since it's special education, will join us for his portion of it, just so that if there are any questions, you know, we can ask his expertise. Sound good? All right, moving on. So the first slide, or the budget driver slide that I would like to have you guys take a look at, you know, really has to do with a couple of different things, right? When we think about budget drivers, there are several. When we think about salary and benefits, you know, transportation, facilities, so on and so forth. You know, those are some of our major drivers. I guess the one that I would like to kind of frame the presentation this evening around is maybe the most important one, and that's our students. You know, obviously the needs of our students are very much important. You know, and with that being said, depending on our population, we have to adjust the best that we can to make sure that we're providing, you know, an adequate, and if not more than adequate, education for our kiddos. And with that being said, I think something that we have to keep in mind is that there is also subsidy that is tied to each student, right, that we receive from the state. So if we have an increase of students, there's more money coming in from the state. If we have a decrease of students, there's less money coming in from the state. There's a number of different factors that go into that. We're not going to get into the weeds on that this evening. Yes. Yes.
There's nothing up there.
There's nothing up there. Well, there's this nice mark here.
Fireworks.
It's paused. Stephanie, how's that going up there? If you'd like me to do it, I can do it. Thanks. It'll be helpful. Thanks, Sam. If you wouldn't mind just going back to the budget drivers slide there. There you go. All right. Just to pick up where I left off, gang. I feel like I'm at home holding on to the remote. I just put that in there. All right. So just getting back to the budget drivers aspects of things, like I said, focusing on the students. So depending on our population, as I said, the subsidy will follow. And so I just want to give you guys some perspective over the last 6 years, and this comes directly from the ED 279, which is our document that we get from the state that tells us all about our state subsidy. And there's a lot of nuances to that document. But essentially, I want you guys to take a look at the numbers here, right? So Sam, do you mind? Thanks. So if you take a look from 2019 to 2025, we've lost, we've had a decline of 179 students over that time frame, which equates to about just under 13% of our student population. The thing that I think is really important about this is just to note again that subsidy comes from the number of students that are attending school with us. But you can see that's a pretty significant decline in those 6 years. And as far as trends are concerned, this isn't unique necessarily to RSU4. When we talk about school districts, especially rural school districts, which I guess I would consider us to be to a certain extent, the population is dwindling, which means that subsidy is then dwindling. Okay. Go ahead and slide it up there. So what does that mean as far as money is concerned? If you take a look again, that ED 279 enrollment impact. So the state does a 2-year average. October 1, I think I mentioned it just briefly, but October 1 is kind of the big date. We have to certify our student count on October 1. And so what the state does is it does a 2-year average of your student population to then give your subsidy. And the reason for that is so that if there's a steep increase or a steep decrease, it's not a huge shock to the school district as far as oh man, how are we going to make up this money, or what are we going to do with this extra money, right? So that 2-year student count average equates to $158,549. And just even from last fiscal year, we're down 32 students. Okay. Sam, you can roll on. So, getting to our first point of business here, our RSU4 board goals. Thank you. So on December 10th, I think you guys recall we had some board goals that we came up with, or that you guys cited as extremely important and what we needed to work with, and you took that extremely seriously. As you can see from that capture on December 10th, we were looking at a flat budget, no increase, and we are currently at this point in time at 1.42% year over year. We wanted to maintain programming, not reduce programming, so the reductions that I've made are focused on areas with minimal to no impact on current programming. It was a needs-based budget, so no extras. So there's a directive to the administrative team, our administrators and directors for strategic prioritize requests, and a very conservative review by myself of all budget requests, and then reductions made to the superintendent's proposed budgets. Something that I want to make sure that I emphasize with you guys is that there's a lot of work that goes into getting to the number like that. You take it seriously, and in years past, I know that budgets have come forward to the board, 5% increases year over year, and I guess I'm not looking to beat around the bush. I'd like to be able to present where I think we're at, what's acceptable as far as programming is concerned, and what I think our taxpayers will support. So I've done a fair amount of legwork, and the team has done a fair amount of legwork to make sure that this number is coming as low as possible without sacrificing programming. Go ahead there, Sam. Next slide. All right. Now, where would we be without some of the recommendations as far as reductions are concerned? We would be at 3.34%, or an additional $443 $443,600. Wait, what did I say? $443,602 more than we currently are. Okay, and even 3.34 isn't horrible, but it's a lot farther away than 0. That's for sure. Okay. Next up, Sam. Superintendent's proposed budget. So some highlights here. There are staff reductions. I've got them written down here so that I don't mess it up. So currently I am proposing 4 reductions. And so those are in the areas of central office, data specialist position. At Oak Hill High School, it's an interventionist position. At Oak Hill Middle School, a 7th grade ELA position. And at Libby Tozier School, special education teacher. And I can repeat those. I know that you guys are writing that down if need be. Go ahead, Doug. Yeah, interventionist position. That is a total of 4 full-time positions, correct? Something else I'd like to make sure that you guys are aware of is that we're also looking at repurposing positions, which you'll see in the line by line, and that's to, again, provide programming, to our students with existing staff, and also have some savings involved in that too, which I'll explain to a certain point in the line by line. Okay. Also in there are reductions to discretionary requests, so reduced about $53,000 in that area. We've included health insurance premium increase at 15%, as we feel that that is an adequate number at this point in time. Also included in the budget right now is the SRRF payment for Libby Tozier, and that's that secure vestibule project. And also our paid family medical leave premiums. So there's an employer responsibility on that, and so that's included in this budget also. All right, next slide. So superintendent's proposed budget, these are possible fluctuations. My hope, more than anything else, you've had enough. I'm pretty warm. I don't know. Yeah, it's all good. So possible fluctuations, our hope here is that our health insurance premium comes in lower than the 15%, which would net us some savings. We have ongoing teacher negotiations that we need to be aware of. So those are continuing to happen. I'm really excited about this one. Not that I can get into too much details with it, but a bus garage collaboration that could net us some savings with working with another school district to share costs, just because the costs of repairs for school buses is extremely expensive. And so by working with another school district, which I won't necessarily name at this point in time, we can net some significant savings, which is great. We also don't know what our general liability or building and content insurance will be. And a big one that I want to make sure that we spend a little bit of time talking about this evening is special education tuition. And those are for out-of-district placement students, because those costs continue to rise. Okay, so just want to be thoughtful about that.
So do we have a number on how many students are going to
Yeah, we budget, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, Justin or Sam, but I think currently it stands at 20. Is that correct? Thanks so much. 20 students. Thanks, Robbie, for the question. All right, go ahead there, Sam. All right, Article Cost Center 1, regular instruction. Let's roll on. So regular education staff in Cost Center 1. So these are all the things that are included in Cost Center 1, all right? So if you guys take a look, we've got regular education teaching staff, pre-K through 12 classroom teachers, unified arts, which is our art, music, health, and PE teachers, multilingual learner teachers, or teacher, excuse me. Gifted and talented teachers, alternative education teacher. Also included in Cost Center 1 are educational technicians for pre-K, kindergarten, and gifted and talented, our deans of students, and substitutes for the programming above. Also included in Cost Center 1 are building-based budgets, so classroom supplies, instructional materials, textbook and periodicals, classroom books, classroom furniture, field trips, copier, lease and maintenance agreements, dues and fees, and travel reimbursement. So we'll get into the nitty-gritty with all that in just a few minutes. Some additional information that I want you guys to be aware of, which you did receive this information already, but I just want to make sure that the public hears it too, is that our projected class sizes for next school year, or for next fiscal year, it says, is Libby Tozier School an average of 13.9 students, and Carrie Ricker School an average of 17.7 students. And something that I want to point out, and this goes along with the middle school in just a moment here, these are straight averages. Diane, I think you've asked this question in the past, or you've made this point in regards to special education students. Some of our self-contained special education students are not with their regular ed teachers for the majority or part of their day. Those students are included in this count. So as far as like an actual regular classroom day-to-day operation, right, these numbers may fluctuate a little bit lower just because those students are going elsewhere, a self-contained room or a resource room for their programming. Okay, but I wanted to at least give you an idea of what it looked as a straight average with those students included. Okay. Next up, we've got class sizes for the middle school, and you can see those there, along with a lot of information which I appreciate from the high school. Courses by the numbers for both the semester 1 and semester 2, along with all of our AP dual enrollment, college courses, and LRTC enrollment, and even by the programs that they are participating in, which is a significant number. I've had the nice opportunity of helping out our LRTC students by driving the van to LRTC the last couple of mornings. We just had some, transportation stuff come up, so we've been covering those, and it's always good to check in with those students about the programs that they're in. So valuable program, that's for sure. Okay, moving on, Sam, to Cost Center 1 notes. So just some things I want you guys to be aware of. Again, we have our paid family medical leave premiums for all staff included in this. We have health insurance premium increases for all staff in this, again, at that 15%. We have negotiated increases for all staff. We have reallocation of gifted and talented staffing. Let me just pause there for a little explanation on that. We're very fortunate that we have gifted and talented folks who have gifted and talented endorsements. I know that sounds ridiculous, right? That they obviously would have those, but people who are working with our gifted and talented students, we can because they have that certification or that endorsement, we can bill those in a different place. We can move some of the part of their salary to a different place so it doesn't affect the general fund, which is great. If they didn't have that, it'd be a different story, but because they do, we're allowed to do that. It's very helpful. And also, as I said, you'll see in Cost Center 1 notes reduction of the positions at the high school and the middle school, and that's because that's where these live. I noted 4 to you. 2 of the 4 are in this first cost center. All right. Anything? Oh, here we go. Just the regular instruction summary year over year as far as the increases or decreases as far as money is concerned. It's 123,187. Just an increase of that much money year over year. Before we get into kind of the line by line aspect of things, are there any questions that you might have? Go ahead, Robbie, and don't forget your microphone.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
That 2026 to 2027 number, that includes the increases that you just outlined in health insurance, negotiated contracts, and what was the other thing?
Paid family medical leave. That is correct, Robbie.
So what is that total? You know, I know you're not insurance. I mean, we're guessing at 15%. We hope it comes in lower, but what is that total increase compared to last year's budget for those three things? Okay.
Microphone.
It doesn't pick up far
You have to be. Yeah. No,
Now
it's
it's
not. You
off.
turn
I
it
guess
off.
I guess just to
How's that?
let you know that
There you go.
the
Yeah.
point I'm trying to make is that we're seeing only 123% increase, 123,000 increase, but that number is completely larger than that.
Right, it could have been
It could have been
significantly larger, not
Significantly larger
without the
Yeah.
reductions.
without
of the
the reduction.
superintendent.
Yeah, definitely. So the three things that you mentioned, negotiated staff increases or, proposed negotiated increases,
Right.
Health insurance increase and PFML. So in total for the general fund, so covering every cost center that has staff in it, our PFML premiums for next year about 52,000.
Okay.
So in total for the general fund, that's what that one piece would be. For health insurance, we actually are very fortunate with the elections that our staff have made this year. So in a prior year, a 15% increase to our premiums felt like $500,000 because we've had such different elective options with our staff that we currently have. It feels more like 260 this year. So that's
Okay.
definitely helped quite a bit. It's still a 15% premium increase, but because it's been such a different,
So
choice
as
from our
of
employees.
just those two items, you're talking 300,000.
Yep.
So with the reductions, we're down to 123. So we've done
yeah, so that's
a pretty decent job as far
the
as
300,000 would be for all 11
Right.
cost centers. So if
Yeah.
you want me to run that by cost center, I can certainly do that. It'll
Okay,
just take
yeah,
a
that'd be
minute.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
just for information so we can
Sure.
get that out to the public.
All right, so
that
we're talking
We're-
salary
you know,
and
you guys
benefits.
are doing a great job working hard
by
to get
cost
that
center.
number down,
Okay.
even with increases that we can't control.
Yeah. I brought stickies this year so I
Okay.
can flag the data requests, not have to remember them at the end.
Thank you.
Question.
Go ahead, Dennis. You're good, bud.
Did I hear you say on the paid family medical leave, the year is 52,000 total?
Roughly. Yeah.
And does the employee pay a portion of that? We
Yes.
split that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
50-50 split, Dennis.
So
Of
the part that's projected in the cost center is only the portion.
The employer portion.
employer
Correct.
portion.
Yep.
You got it, bud. Yep, you got it. Yep. And go ahead, Teresa. Sorry.
No.
Maybe you should be calling on people. You okay? All right.
Have at it.
Go ahead, Teresa.
The reallocation of gifted and talented staffing, where will we see that staffing?
Yeah, you'll see that in this cost center. I'll take you through that line by line so that you see where those staff are moving from and where it's moving to. So, and I'll speak to that, and feel free as we get to it to ask any questions that you need to clarify at that time.
Go ahead, Matt.
I hate to go back too far.
No, you're good.
You're on a roll there. I wanna let you go.
Stop me while I'm going, bud. It's all good.
Those four positions, I have data specialists and the interventionist at Oak Hill High School. What were the other two?
Data specialist is at central office.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then Oak Hill High School is the interventionist.
Yep.
There was a 7th grade ELA teacher at Oak Hill Middle School.
ELA. And number 4.
And then the last one is a special education teacher at Libby Tozier.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's not a problem. And you stop. I do. I'll get going on stuff, but don't be afraid to throw something at me. You're good. All right. Let's go ahead and dive deep, I guess. Right, Sam? We're ready to do that?
Ready for the wicked fun stuff?
Ooh.
Line by line.
Yeah, just make
so-
sure you're really close, Sam, because you have
Okay.
a low voice to begin with, so I
Okay,
have
know,
to be
my
very,
dad tells me that all the time, and I hate it when
very
he says
strict
that, but
about you
that's
getting
okay.
close there.
All right,
Hopefully
so
he's not watching.
just tell me to scooch in if you're not
Okay.
hearing me. So of your hard copy documents that you have in front of you, we're going to be looking at Cost Center 1, regular instruction. And for ease of use and reference, like we've done in years past, each account has a number attached to it. So you don't have to say the entire account number if you have a question. Just say, I'd like to talk about line 7, and then we can look at that together. Before we dive into the details, just a couple of notes on structure and comments that you'll see. So anywhere that you have a salary line, I've taken care to put a note on that salary line for how many employees that represents and like what the nature of the work of those employees is. Then you'll also see for health insurance, there's a global comment for every health insurance line, just noting that projected 15% premium increase that Mr. Aliberti mentioned earlier. And also the note that, we have had significant differences in elections over FY26. That means that the increase or decrease for health insurance lines can vary wildly. Some can be up, some can be down, some can stay pretty consistent, but, two big things that play there, a pretty substantial increase to the health insurance and a pretty substantial difference in elective choices. Then you'll also see anywhere that there is a PFML line, you'll see that I've added a note for what our premium employer contribution is. So our private plan rate is 0.85. So our employer contribution, half of that is 0.425. So you'll see that note carried through anywhere there's a PFML deduction line as well. And then just other notes on structure as we go through regular instruction. We'll look at Carrie Ricker first and then the middle school. So we'll progress a school at a time. One thing to note about Carrie Ricker is that because of the structure of the state of Maine codes and how they expect us to do accounting, Carrie Ricker will have 3 account clusters. And when I say clusters, it's the group of accounts before it's subtotaled. Okay, so Carrie Ricker is special because it has grades 3 and 4, which is one particular program according to the state. It also has grade 2, which is another type of program according to the state. And we also house pre-K there, which is a third. So some of the schools will have a lot of those account clusters and others will have just one. So I just wanted to note that for you. But we'll talk about who's involved in all of those account clusters as we go through them. Any questions on coding or structure before we just dive in? Volume check, Nicole. How am I doing?
Very well.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So as we move through the account clusters, we'll take a look at the staff and associated benefits and taxes for that cluster, and then we'll look at the discretionary lines separately. So the first thing that starts us off here, line 1, is the salary at Carrie Ricker, and it's for program code 1100, which the state says is grade levels 3 through 8. So at Carrie Ricker, that translates to your grade 3 and 4 students. We also code the Dean of Students there, and our unified arts teachers, which are shared with Libby Tozier. So you can see that that represents 13 people, some shared with Libby Tozier, but that salary line is number 1. Right below that is the substitute allocation for those particular employees. And then we also have the stipends for school-based stipend positions at Carrie Ricker. So that 1, 2, 3, those are pay for our staff in that account cluster. And then down to line 20 is all of the associated benefits and taxes for said employees and positions. And Marco, I think you wanted to speak to line 1. Is that accurate?
Yes, I do. I appreciate it, Sam. As far as the structure is concerned, very helpful. But I was speaking earlier in regards to reallocation of staff. And so, in working with Jenny Hudner, the principal at Carrie Ricker, and Jan LaValle at Libby Tozier, you can see an example of a reallocation in our notes in that line number 1. Okay, I'll just read through it, and then I'm going to stop right where we're talking about the reallocating of staff, okay? So if you look, it says there's 13 FTEs, so 1 dean of students and 12 teachers. That's the 13 for grades 3 and 4. And a unified arts teacher split with Libby Tozier. So to focus in on the unified arts teacher with Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker, and just again, unified arts is your arts, your music, so on and so forth. What we're looking to do is repurpose a 4th grade position to be a new UA. And so that new UA would be STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and math. And that would be to provide STEM services or STEM education to our little guys. So our essentially kindergarten through second grade is what we would do. So, sorry, through fourth grade. My apologies, right? So that would be a repurposing of a position. And the reason for that is we feel that the numbers are adequate enough as far as our student population that it doesn't necessarily make the regular ed classrooms be too large, but we can also provide something substantial for our students who don't receive that kind of instruction at that age group. Something else to take into consideration in talking with Shelley Mogul, our Director of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction, is that it is often, and I can remember this as an elementary school teacher, it is not easy to teach those things because you're focused so much on literacy and math at those age groups. So to work in science and social studies, even though it's important and you do it, having this dedicated teacher to teach science, technology, engineering, and math would be a huge benefit. So that's a proposal that I'm putting on the table in regards to repurposing a position. And I just want to make sure that you guys were aware of that, and that would be an example of a repurposing of a position. Doug.
On the other forms that you sent us, with that show like the breakdowns by schools, it says that there are currently 3 unified arts teachers shared with Libby Tozier, and you're going to go repurpose the 4th grade teacher to be a 4th one. What are the other 3 unified arts teachers?
So currently it is music, art, gym.
Gym, okay.
Right. Any other questions around that one, Doug? No? Okay. No, you're good. No, it's good. I appreciate the question. So I just want, again, I wanted to make sure that it's transparent to you guys that this is the thought process behind that, okay? Of course you can ask a no, you can't, Diane. Of course you can.
Would this STEM teacher also go to Libby Tozier as well?
Yes, that's why it's a split. It's split between Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker. That's correct. Yep.
All right, so line 20 takes us to the end of staffing in that account cluster. And from line 21 to line 30 are the discretionary lines. And I'll spend a little bit of time in this account cluster, but there's a lot of, redundancy and repetition as you look at the other account clusters. So repair and maintenance, that's often a question like an instructional, that tends to represent repairs to musical instruments, PE equipment, that type of thing. So many of the schools have a budget for upkeeping and maintaining the equipment that we've invested in. This particular account cluster has line 23, which is the copier lease and maintenance. So wherever you see that budget amount, it represents our semi-annual maintenance payment. It also represents our lease payment, which we have 3 years remaining on, and it also represents if we were to receive any overage fees for going above our allotted number of copies. In this particular account cluster, you'll see line 24, which is travel reimbursement. That is for our staff that go between Carrie Ricker and Libby Tozier that by contract can submit for that reimbursement. Line 25 is the instructional supplies that the staff within this group have requested. Something new that we've done with supplies across the board this year was to solicit from all of our staff what they feel they will need next year for general office supplies. And the intent, we've gone out to bid to get a preliminary estimate from multiple vendors on, purchasing a large batch of general office supplies so that we can get bulk pricing. In years past, we've been very liberal allowing staff to input their individual budget requests, and then they solicit the vendor that they want to use that. But we are trying to be fiscally responsible and take every avenue that we can to realize some savings. So while I don't have the specifics on comparative from last year's supplies request to what this year will be with that general bid, I can tell you, as the one that approves those and signs off on the dollars, that I do anticipate that we'll realize the savings there. So you will notice a trend on the instructional supplies throughout the line by line this evening, that those are down, and our administrators and our teachers have made a vested effort to take the request of the board and the superintendent to come in with a fiscally responsible budget to heart. Line 26 is books and periodicals. That's down slightly for the specific requests at this grade level at Carey Ricker. There's also an equipment line, furniture, dues and fees. Line 29 typically has represented our share center dues. Some of you may know that share center is closing. So we'll be looking at alternatives like Ruth's Reusables, but we are assuming that the staff that were interested in a membership to share center would be interested in a similar membership for resource sharing in the state.
Do you mind just explaining what Share Center is, just for people who may not know?
Yeah, Share Center is or was an organization that collected salvaged educational materials, from equipment to classroom supplies and goods, and then charged districts like us a membership fee based on the number of students and staff in your building to participate in being able to access those goods. So then our staff, if we had a membership, were able to go to Share Center and shop based on our membership fees. So some of our schools elected to continue that this year, and others were not interested just based on their, school usage. So Carey Ricker was one that was interested in continuing that. So you'll see that come up here and also in the grade 2 dues and fees. But again, we'll be looking at alternatives where Share Center is not a viable option for next year. And then finally, line 30 are the specific grade 3 and 4 teacher requests for field trips for FY26. So you can see that down a little bit from what was budgeted this current year. I don't remember off the top of my head what those specific requests were, but I'm sure we can get you that information if you're interested. But that takes us to the subtotal for that account cluster. And I won't spend as much time on the rest of them.
Scooch.
I
forgot
sorry.
I forgot
Louder.
the code
Got it.
word. Thank
Got
you.
it.
That's what she said. Just say scooch.
Are there any questions on lines 1 through 30, grades 3, 4, Unified Arts at Carey Ricker? Okay, then we'll hop right down to the next. So staff benefits and related taxes start with line 31 and continue to line 44. So this account cluster represents our grade 2 teachers at Carey Ricker. So we have 5 right now, and we intend to have 5 next year. It also represents an allocation for substitutes for that particular grade level and all of the associated benefits for those staff. So you'll notice that in FY24, so that's your first 2 columns, and FY23, or 25, pardon me, that's your 3rd and 4th columns. Everything is 0, so remember that this current year is the first year that we've had grade 2 at Carey Ricker after the Sabatis primary closure. Okay, not seeing questions. I'm going to move on to the discretionary lines. So starting with line 45 and going to 51, these are the specific requests for staff in grade 2 at Carey Ricker. Again, you'll note that line 50 has an allocation that was intended to be the portion of share center dues, but again, we'll be looking at alternatives. And grade 2 did not have a specific field trip request, but they do intend to do field trips with the monies that they've requested in the budget. They just don't have those selected yet. Any questions on the account cluster for grade 2 at Carey Ricker?
So Sam, for the dues and fees, for that share center. So this 550 is also for that. So it's 1150 for the building.
Yeah, so because Carey Ricker went from 2 grades to 4, they no longer qualified for the small school designation for Carey Ricker. So in the past, a small school, less than X number of staff and X number of students, qualified for a flat, I think it was $550 fee for share center. This past year, when we moved everybody over from Libby Tozier and Sabatis Primary, the numbers went up and their dues went up as well because they no longer qualified. So it goes into a formula. They take the number of staff that you have that work there and the number of students that attend. It's a per student, per staff. It spits out a number, and then that's your dues for the year. So we estimated next year based off of this year and about what they increased the percentage to from last year.
So are they going to be open for this fiscal year? Or
No, they won't
this
be
is what-
open.
Are they
but,
already closed?
I believe they're closing this month.
This one.
Yeah, we got notice early. I think it was prior to February break that we got notice that they were closing, and I think they put it out there with enough notice for staff to come before they closed their doors and try to access, what was there now. But going into next year, what we would like to do with those funds are look at alternatives like Ruth's Reusables, which is in Portland rather than Auburn, but it's a very similar opportunity.
That was going to be my next question. Have we looked into the costs for those alternatives, and are they
Yeah, they're
in
comparable.
line?
Yeah, they're comparable. I think Ruth's is a little bit more expensive, but comparable. They might have a slightly different formula, but I think over or under by a couple $100, I think we'll be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, Diane?
It would be interesting to see what are some of the things that teachers get so other board members can see that. Like how many teachers use it? What are the things that you have gotten at the Share Center? Because sometimes we don't see everything that teachers get from there.
Okay.
Whether it's worth our while or not.
Absolutely, that's a good point. How many have used it this year, and what have they got?
I mean, they run the gambit of any
Yeah, I know.
furniture, desk, paper, chairs.
You go there one day. Yeah, sometimes it's the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
You go there
happen
one
to
day,
Go in and there's
yeah.
nothing.
Right.
Or
Yeah. I was going to say TJ Maxx, but, sometimes you go to TJ Maxx and you walk out with nothing, and other times you're like, how did I spend that much money?
that's rarely though, right?
So the next cluster of accounts starts with line 52. We're still at Carrie Ricker. So Carrie Ricker, if you look at the account codes, school code for Carrie Ricker is 020. So anytime you see those as the last three numbers, we're living at Carrie Ricker. This line 52 represents salary for regular ed pre-K teachers. So we have 2 pre-K teachers at Carrie Ricker. Just below that is the ed techs. So we have 2 pre-K ed tech supports at Carrie Ricker as well. And then the related benefits for those employees go down to line 67 with similar notes that you've seen above for health insurance and paid family medical leave. And then the discretionary requests for pre-K at Carrie Ricker start with line 68 to 71. So furniture has been zeroed out because that was a specific request for someone coming from Libby Tozier to Carrie Ricker in a new pre-K space that was fulfilled in this fiscal year. And you can see slight fluctuations for supplies and books and periodicals there. Any questions on that pre-K account cluster at Carrie Ricker? All right, so we'll move on to the middle school. So middle school's building code is 030. So any series of accounts that you see that ends in 030, we are at the middle school. So the middle school has much fewer account clusters. The program code 1100, again, represents grades 3 through 8 according to the state, and Oak Hill Middle School is 5 through 8. So we only have one account cluster for that staffing. So line 72 represents our teacher salary for regular instruction at the middle school. So you have 23 employees represented there. You have a dean of students and 22 teachers, including your grades 5, 6, 7, and 8 teachers and the unified arts teachers for the middle school. This is one place that we would like to note that one of the teachers that was allocated 100% here last year has been moved 60% to gifted and talented. Again, that's being reflective with our Director of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction and allocating some of that salary to a gifted and talented line. So it still stays in the general fund. So it's dollar for dollar. It's just moving to a different location, because when the state looks at that salary line and says you spent this much on gifted and talented, then when they do our ED 279, we get a higher kickback for that in the funding formula. So that's very smart thinking on, Shelley's part to bring that forward as an option to not this year see a direct benefit, but in years future to see a better return on using our same staff in a smarter way. Did you want to speak to line 72?
Just to highlight the reduction that's listed there. That's all. I just giving you the overview from before, making sure that you guys now see that reduction in the line by line.
Okay. So line 73 is the related substitutes pay for that group of employees, and then line 74 are the school-based stipends listed there: team leaders, mentors, bar coordinator, class advisor, building certification rep. And then line 75 is a placeholder that we always have for teacher retirements. So as we learn of teachers who are intending to retire, there is a contractual payout if they have banked sick time. And so that is there as a placeholder with the understanding that we do have retirements from year to year. Line 96 begins the discretionary requests from the middle school. So I'll give you a moment to get there. It's on the next page. One thing that we would like to know, we started to centralize requests for professional development last year, and we're continuing with that. So you will see that throughout the regular instruction, any regular instruction professional development request is being funneled through the Curriculum Assessment and Instruction Cost Center, which is Shelley's Cost Center 5. So you'll see that those requests are going through her so that she can steward and prioritize the requests with the limited funds that we have available. So making sure that we're prioritizing professional development requests for teachers who are in their third year of their evaluation cycle, and making sure we get them the support that they need to complete that cycle successfully. But you'll see that throughout, that has been moved along with the associated travel for those professional development requests. So you can see very similar lines to Carrie Ricker in these discretionary lines, 96 through 105. Any questions on any of those?
Do you know why we have 100% increase for 102?
My guess would be I'd have to look at the details of what Michaela had in their request, but typically those books and periodicals represent at the middle school level some Scholastic News subscriptions. So those are classroom-based subscriptions that teachers receive, I want to say on a monthly basis, but it's possible that more than the teachers that had asked for them last year are asking for them this year. So Michaela, I don't know if you have that detail right in front of you.
You want to step right up to the Yule microphone, Michaela? You want to step right up to the Yule microphone, Michaela? Thank you. Appreciate it. We got a seat right over next to Teresa if you want, with a microphone. Oh, you got to turn it on. It's right on the. There you go. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Hi, everyone. We just have more requests for scholastics. I have four sixth grade teachers and 2 7th grade teachers that are wanting it, and then I have 2 8th grade teachers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they are used very well, and they have some great content in there and experiments and projects that we do with them.
So are those like the books that they can take with them, right?
The magazines.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
The little newsletters and things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And books. They have
Yeah.
books.
They're very fun and interactive.
Yeah, and they generally have them at the primary level too. Like I see them come home with
Yep.
my 4th graders.
My
so,
daughter
yeah.
has them
Yeah.
too in first grade. Oh yeah. Thank you, Michaela.
Done?
I feel like I should know this, but what is line 92 MESUTA? What does that stand for?
Masuda. It's an outdated name or account description for employment tax. Unemployment tax. Yeah. All right. Any other questions on the middle school regular instruction lines? Okay. So line 106 starts us at Libby Tozier. So Libby Tozier this year and moving forward is grades K and 1. So that's program code 1120. So line 106 is the salary line for teachers at Libby Tozier. So there are 13 employees represented here. So that's your classroom grades K and 1 teachers and the unified arts teachers that are split with Carrie Ricker. We also have 1 kindergarten ed tech represented in line 107. We have some substitute allocation for that building in that account cluster. And then line 109, as you've seen before, school-based stipends at Libby Tozier, team leaders, mentors. Farm Day is paid for out of Libby Tozier, and a building certification rep. Continuing down to line 133, that's where our staff and benefit lines end for Libby Tozier, grades K and 1. And then the discretionary requests start with line 134 and continue down to 143. Again, I just want to draw attention to the significant decreases that you're seeing in the supply requests this year. The books and periodicals, in particular at Libby Tozier, the administrator, Jan, was very specific to note that they repurposed so much stuff from Sabatis Primary when that was closed that they didn't have as much need for supplies. So rather than just asking for what they always ask for, they were thoughtful about making reductions, the same as the rest of our administrative team, like really trying to answer the call. That every little bit helps. So I really appreciate the effort of the team. There is a request in line 40 for 3 whiteboards for classrooms for Libby Tozier. So the projectors that are in those rooms, they could project onto the wall, but the teachers really prefer to have a whiteboard because they like to use their wall space for their organizers, their daily agendas, all those things. So that's a request from Libby Tozier. And you'll note that line 142 is zeroed out for dues and fees because this building does not have an interest in doing a share center membership or something alike. Questions on grades K and 1 at Libby Tozier? Yes, Teresa?
Well, I think it's really what we've been going through. I've been noticing decreases in the stipend lines.
Yeah, so that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I guess if you could explain why they have decreased.
Yeah,
which is a
so
good thing.
absolutely. We've scrutinized every line that we can in this budget to bring it in where we've come in for you at 1.42%. The stipends in particular, we've had conversation as an administrative team specifically around mentors. We've been more gracious than need be in applying mentorship to some of our staff here. So we have come in and said, in coming years, we want to provide mentors to our teachers in their, Shelley, correct me if I'm wrong, first and second year. First year, there it is. Yeah. So there's the savings, is that not guaranteeing a mentor for every second year teacher, only by admin request or other requests that they are provided a mentor in that second year. So that's in those school-based lines is the majority of the savings that you'll see there. Great question. All right, the next cluster of accounts starts with line 144 and goes to 159. So these are, kind of the holdover of when pre-K was held at Libby Tozier. So you can see that this current fiscal year, ending June 30, 2026, and this budget year, this upcoming FY27, are all zeroed out because Carrie Ricker is where we have pre-K now. So that was an easy one. The next cluster of accounts. Oh, did you have a question, Nicole?
So sorry. I'm still catching up. I want to. Is it okay if I jump back to 143 for Libby
Absolutely.
Tozier?
Yep.
Since we haven't moved on to the next cluster yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was $2,000, then $4,000, and it's be $4,000 again. Do we know why it jumped from 2 to 4 2 years ago?
Yeah, because that was the year that grade 1 moved to Libby Tozier from Sabattis Primary. So remember, this account cluster represents grades K to 2. And what was housed at Libby Tozier was grades K and pre-K. So pre-K has distinct coding. So when you look at that field trip request 2 years ago, it represented just kindergarten. And now K and 1 are there. And that cluster represents 2 grade levels. So it's doubled.
But it was in a different line item.
Yeah, it would have been at
perfect.
Sabattis Primary for grade 1.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Looking at line 160, that begins the account cluster that represents our old Sabattis Primary elementary lines. So remember, that was closed this year or prior to this year. So currently and in the budgeted year, those lines are zeroed out completely. And that brings us to Oak Hill High School, which starts with line 187. So the school code for Oak Hill High School is 300. So anytime you see an account that ends in 300, we're living at the high school. Line 187 represents the teacher salaries at Oak Hill High School. So that represents 28 teachers. Marco, did you want to note that?
Yeah, just again, the overview I provided, reduction of the interventionist position. Again, just want to note that that's now detailed in the line by line, just so that it's represented there. I want you guys to know that I'm saying it in the overview, and it's also living within the line items.
Yep, and line 188 was a substitute line that, after our analysis of where we are with our current budget year for substitute allocation and our usage, needed to be adjusted up. So that was adjusted a little bit, $4,500 to try to estimate a better allocation for next year. 189 is our school-based stipends. The stipends tend to grow more robust as you go up the grade levels. So there are more department heads, mentors, class advisors, certification rep at the high school. So that's why that line looks larger than some of the other schools. And then if you go all the way down to line 206, that's where the employee costs and benefits end. And then 207 starts our discretionary lines. So as you've seen with the other schools, line 207, employee training and development, has been centralized to Cost Center 5, improvement of instruction. So you'll see that line come up in a different night. Line 208 is the contracted services for the high school, which exclusively represents our Jobs for Maine Graduates contract that we have. So that's an annual contract that we renew. We're very happy to hear that we didn't have an increase projected for next year for that contract, which is great. So we pay that amount, $27,000, and we get a full-time staff that works at the high school in the Jobs for Maine Graduates program, which is a very successful and very much needed, I would say, program. The other discretionary lines, very similar. One thing to note here at the high school is that there is a significant number of software requests that the high school has in comparison to other schools. So in collaborative conversation, some of those software choices were moved out of Cost Center 5 technology and to the high school in the instructional lines. So line 211, the instructional software line, is a brand new line, so you'll see 0 all the way through this current year, and a budgeted amount that is not new dollars, but dollars moved from Cost Center 5 into this new account line. Some of the software choices are noted there. Don't ask me what they are, because I only know like one of them. And then line 213 as well, travel for professional development, that has also been centralized to Cost Center 5 and improvement of instruction. Again, noting a significant decrease in the supply requests from the high school. Excuse me. Any other questions through line 219?
I know you mentioned, sorry. I know you mentioned substitute line. Over the whole picture of substitutes. Are we getting that number right or close?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we have a unique situation, which is very costly this year, which is an anomaly and doesn't happen often. With that anomaly removed, we're right on track for where we should be. And looking at next year, I think what we've adjusted in those lines, we should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
And that includes the fact that last year you opted to increase the substitute pay.
Yeah.
So you did make that adjustment at the board level, and we've held tight and been okay with what has been budgeted with that anomaly.
We upped it. It used to be like a flat 20,000 every year, and it was like we were coming in like nowhere near that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely more than that. Definitely more than that. All right. So those are the school-based budgets. And now in Cost Center 1, there are other things that are covered which are not necessarily tied to a specific school. They're tied to a particular program. So one of the programs that we have is English as a Second Language, which is program code 4100. You'll see that start with line 220. So new this year, we did budget last year for this position, but I believe we filled it this year. I'm looking at Shelley to confirm, and she agrees, is one teaching position for multilingual students. We, in prior years, had budgeted for an ed tech, but reallocated that ed tech based on increased needs last year to a teaching position and have filled, and that has been successful here. Going down to line 235, that's where you'll see those employee benefit and tax lines end. And then there are just a couple of discretionary lines for this account cluster. So there's some translation services in line 236 that have been requested. And this employee, as I mentioned, is not school-based. They work at different schools with the different students that have needs. So they do travel between buildings like some of our unified arts teachers do at the primary and elementary schools. Questions on that account cluster? Okay. Then we get into gifted and talented. So gifted and talented have two account clusters, one robust account cluster that represents grades K through 8, and one little one that represents the high school, but we'll talk about that. So line 238, this is where you'll see reallocation of staffing to, again, in future years, try to see a better yield or return from the ED 279 formula. So in years past, we've had one full-time gifted and talented teacher and one full-time gifted and talented ed tech that spent a bulk of their time middle school and lower grades. This year, we have 60% of another teaching position that is allocated to gifted and talented based on what they are doing day to day in the classroom and the student population that they're working with. And we are fortunate enough to have our Director of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction also carries a gifted and talented endorsement, which the state allows us to bill a portion of her salary there as well. And every dollar that we're spending in that salary line is going to net us a better return in future years from the 279 formula. So no new staff, no additional staff, but staff moved from other places to be smarter. The salary and benefit lines for gifted and talented at those younger grade levels go down to line 252. So starting with 253, in these specific departments where we get a better return on our spending for the 279, we did not centralize the employee training and development requests. So you'll see that for gifted and talented and some other departments that we'll highlight, their employee training and development requests have been left in their particular account cluster and in their respective cost center. So you'll see that there are some instructional software requests for GT, travel reimbursement, because again, these staff travel within buildings or between buildings, pardon me, and some small supplies and books and periodicals requests as well. Any questions through line 260? Okay. So starting with line 261, you'll see this micro account cluster for English as a second language at the upper level. So these are new requests for our students that are 9 through 12 who are receiving multilingual services, some small requests for supplies, books, and periodicals. And then if you don't mind, if we could just jump to line 279, because that's the upper grade level gifted and talented requests, and then we'll go right back to alternative ed. So you can see that we pay for all of our staffing for multilingual and gifted and talented at the lower grade level coding, but we do have some supply and other discretionary requests for high school levels for those programs. So 279 represents our AVEC tuition for gifted and talented, and also some small requests for gifted and talented art supplies and some books to support programming at the high school. So hitting rewind and going back to kind of our last unique program. Program code 4200 represents alternative education, which is housed at the high school, but services 9 through 12 students. So that starts with line 264. We have one alternative education teacher. And then down to line 272, the discretionary requests for that program are listed through line 278.
Sam,
Mm-hmm.
where does the number for LRTC live?
LRTC lives in its own cost center, cost
Okay.
center 3. That'll be the
All right,
first
that's
one
what
that
I
we
thought,
touch on
yeah.
at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, and that takes us through, if there are no other questions, cost center 1, regular instruction. On the very last page, the grand total is noted. So as Marco mentioned, we're up just to 8.2 million, which represents a huge portion of our staff, our instructional staff. And we are up year over year, 123,000 or 1.52%. So again, huge thanks to our administrative team and everybody who put in significant effort to bring that in as low as it came in.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Appreciate your hard work. And your knowledge and cost centers, that's for sure. All right. I'll let you take a break and I'll take it from here. Does that sound good? No, I'm not doing line. No, I'm not doing line by line. No. I mean, I could do it. It just wouldn't be as good, that's for sure. So moving on to cost center 2. I don't know, Justin, do you want to join us at the table now, or do you want to come up? Oh, you would. You'd love to. Come join us at the table. Good times. All right, so I'm just going to roll through kind of the overview again in regards to Cost Center 2. And just so that you guys know, in Cost Center 2, this again is special education, and what's housed here are the following. So staffing, our special education teachers, resource room and self-contained teachers specifically. So our special education ed techs, speech and language teacher, special education director, special education administrative assistants. We have a special education social worker, extended school year staff. Extended school year, for those of you guys that don't know, is summer school for special education students. Contracted services, we have in this cost center are speech and language teachers, board certified behavior analyst, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and psychologist services. And you can see the little asterisk there below. Contracted services are partially funded through local entitlement, which are federal funds, correct? Right, just making sure. That's all. Also in Cost Center 2 are special education supplies, specialized instructional software, reading and math curriculum for specially designed instruction, supplies and materials for functional life skills and behavior support programs, supplies and materials for related services, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and psychological services. And historically, a small portion of local entitlement has been used to offset supply costs and provide professional development opportunities. The next slide is what is Maine Care Seed, and I'll probably just turn it over to Justin to explain this, just because he'll do a better job than I will. I'd just read it to you. He's going to make it so it makes sense. Go ahead there, Justin.
Yeah, while Justin is getting his microphone working, for those of you who have sat on the board for prior years, this is the exact same slide that we showed you last year, so no new information, but it's such an interesting topic and very complex that we felt like it was worth talking about again, especially since it has a significant impact to the budget like it has in the last several years. So are you good?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
right.
Without going through the slide word for word, I would just say basically what it comes down to is IEP teams determine that students need services in certain areas. It might be ed tech support, so BHP support, behavioral health professional, speech services, OT services, physical therapy. And so what happens is, I'm going to try and get the numbers right without looking. I got to look. There we go. 62% of that is covered through Maine Care. So the outplacements bill Maine Care. 62% is covered. 38% the district's on the hook for. The DOE pays that up front, but we get that withheld from our subsidy. So we have to put a line in the budget, as you'll see, to cover that cost. Is basically what it comes down to. So hope that makes sense.
Thanks, Justin. It was better than what I could say. I appreciate it. And then just something that I really want to make sure that we highlight. I did talk about this in my overview from the beginning, is just our behavioral day treatment services history. And so if you guys look at this nifty graph that's there, you can see what we've budgeted is in the purple bar graphs, in our fiscal years here. And, what our actuals, which is the black line graph, actually have been. And so we continue to see a huge increase in the cost of behavior day treatment services. And you can see that third line is what's projected, which is a continued increase.
Can I add one quick thing there,
Of course
Marco?
you can. Go right ahead.
So one thing to think about with that, too, is that also includes some of our students don't qualify for Maine Care. So those costs come out of that budget area. And that can be quite expensive if the district has to pay the full cost of, speech services, PT, OT, all of those things. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Justin. And so something that I want us to kind of think about for, I guess, future, I say that. I want you guys to consider it as this, right? We budget for roughly 20 students, right? I mentioned that, Robbie, you asked the question, how many students do we budget for? We budget for 20. We know that we have students that we can account for the students that we have. This sounds ridiculous, right? Like, of course we can, right? The students that are graduating and the students that are coming in. And one of the really nice things about having pre-K, especially once we have even 3-year-olds is that we will know ahead of time about our student population coming in that may need outplacement services. So it's going to give us a real leg up when it comes to budgeting. The variable that's there that's really difficult to predict is people who move in, right? We know who we have, we don't know who we don't have, which is obvious. But if they show up in the school district and they are currently in an out-of-district placement, by law, we have the obligation to make sure they continue in that out-of-district placement, which makes it budgeting very difficult, right? So one of the things that I want us to consider is creating a special account, basically a savings account. And I say that we did this with the capital improvement account. And I know there's a lot of steps to it, but if we were able to create this special account, which was basically a savings account, you guys would be making sure that we earmark a certain amount of money to go in there and it to be spent only on out of district placements, it would help us as far as anybody moving in, and we wouldn't have to take that money and put it into the general fund right now. Excuse me, into the budget right now, which would increase that percentage, that 1.42%. And I personally don't want to do that. Continue to increase it. I really want to see if we can keep it as low as possible, but be mindful of the money that we have and what we can use it for. And there are a lot of school districts that do this just because it is a huge variable. So just want to put that out there. It's just like a savings account that you'd have at home for something specific that you want to spend it on. That's what this would be. So I don't know, Justin, were you going to say something in regards to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would strongly advocate for it. You know, like a real snapshot example is in, January we had a couple students move into the district that were not budgeted for, and that were already in placements. Happens every year. We do have students that move out, so a lot of times it works itself out, but this would give us a little bit of a cushion to weather that if we are over our budget. So.
And the cushion would come from funds that have already been collected. It would come from fund balance. So the piece here is that you're setting aside the funds that have already been collected if we end up in a situation where our count goes up more than we anticipated, and we can use those funds as you allocate them rather than having to put them in the general fund, ask for them, not knowing for certain if we're going to need them, and then the tax burden goes up because the general budget goes up.
I would like to avoid that aspect of things. So just something to consider. And I say that because we've had good luck. I mean, obviously we'll get to that point as far as facilities concerned with the capital improvement fund. I mean, we're going to be able to do some projects that aren't going to impact the budget itself. And you guys were supportive of that the creation of that fund and funding it. So just looking for that same thing in special education in particular. So just put it out there. Let's see. What else do we have here? We have our notes. Again, we have our paid family medical leave premiums for all staff, our health insurance premium increase for all staff, which we've talked about, negotiated increases for all staff, reduction of position at Libby Tozier in the resource room, which I did explain to you guys earlier, an increase to main care seat expense line, the increase to the out-of-district placement tuition expense lines, and as I just mentioned, a request for a special education reserve account and additional staffing and support added through early childhood cohort, and that's the pre-K program that we've worked through, or we have currently going. Tim, did you want to slide it up there? Here we go. Cost Center 2 Special Education Summary. So year over year, we're up $93,796. Okay. Any questions about the overview, gang? Robbie.
Justin, I know the state changed how we pay for out-of-district placements. I know they wanted to have those out-of-district placement businesses be more stable with people not showing up, and we have to pay whether they're there or not. Do we know what that number is of people not showing up that we have to pay for? I mean, I know it's probably week to week changing. People get sick or whatever, but,
Say we keep an eye on that. If students aren't attending, meeting to talk about why they're not coming.
Okay.
Yeah, we monitor that. That's your mic. Yeah. So, long story short, we monitor that attendance piece all the time. So, because if students aren't attending, you're right, we'd be still paying the tuition bill, and we obviously want to keep an eye on that.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Most of our students are attending. Thank you.
Do we have anywhere near a number though?
No, most of our students are attending regularly. I would say right now there's one that we're keeping an eye on that actually just moved into the district, but other than that, no issues.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate Justin's good info. All right, you guys ready for the line by line fun and excitement? Right. Hearing no objections nor cheering, we'll go ahead and move forward.
No, we're cheering.
No cheering. Sorry.
All right.
There you go.
So-
Robbie gotcha.
In your hard copy handouts, you're looking at the document that says Cost Center 2, Special Education across the top. Before we dive into the details, just wanted to let you know that Cost Center 2 has a lot of account clusters. So I'm going to kind of give you the lay of the land, like what we're going to tackle in order, so that way we can follow through, and hopefully that just kind of frames up what we're doing. So the first thing that we'll tackle is every resource room program that we have in district. Okay, so that program code is 2200, and you'll see that carried through the account clusters as we go school by school. It also is our public out-of-district tuition. Then we'll get into self-contained, which is program code 2300. They're all there, so don't worry about writing down the codes. I'll take you through them. But basically, those two are our big, like, classifications of programming and special ed support that we have for instruction here at RSU 4. The self-contained program also has the private tuition lines, which we'll see and we'll make note of. There's this like micro account cluster of homebound special education services. Then we have an administration account cluster. Then we have special ed services like speech, psychology, OT, PT, and lastly, we'll get into extended school year. So that's the breakdown of how we'll go through those accounts, okay? Similar to regular instruction, we'll go through them school by school. So we'll go Carey Ricker, middle school, etc. And unless there are questions about structure or organization, we'll just dive in. All right, so line 1 is the resource room salary teacher line for Carey Ricker. So you'll see noted there we have 2 budgeted special education resource room teachers. And before we get too far into staffing, you'll notice that special education has a lot of fluctuation year to year, as it should. Our student populations change, the needs of the students change, and Justin is a very responsive director, and he is always thinking about how to best use staff and where to place them to best meet the needs of our students in our programs. So a budget line that may have had 6 ed techs last year might have 4 this year, and somewhere else went up, right? So you'll see a lot of fluctuations like that in the salary lines, where some of the others tend to stay a little bit more consistent. But for resource room at Carey Ricker, we've got 2 budgeted special education teachers, and then line 2 for ed techs. We do have a change from last year. We previously had 4 ed techs budgeted here. This year we have 3.75 ed techs budgeted here. The reason for that, one of those positions became a split position, and a quarter time one of those ed techs is supporting clerical work in the office because we only have 1 administrative assistant at Carey Ricker, and Carey Ricker took on 2 grade levels. So we tried to find a creative solution to not impact student programming, so this ed tech helps out in hours where she doesn't need to be with the students in the program and supports the office work to aid there. So you'll see that come up in cost center 7, school administration, that other 0.25%. We also have some substitute allocation for this program, and right down through line 22 are the remainder of the staff benefit and tax lines. All of the special ed programs have the opportunity to request special education specific supplies and support. So you'll see lines 23 through 26 here are the discretionary requests for the resource room at Carey Ricker. So there's some specific instructional software that support the program there. Some supply requests for math and reading materials, and like we noted in regular ed instruction, there are some Scholastic News subscription requests there as well. Any questions on resource room at Carey Ricker? Okay, so starting with line 27, we're looking at resource room at the middle school. So for staffing, we have 3 special education resource room teachers. We have 4 special education resource room ed techs at the middle school. We have an allocation for substitute in that programming. And that takes us down through line 48 for all of the associated employer costs for that staffing. A small number of discretionary lines, again, for instructional software. some supplies, a new curriculum request at the middle school in line 50, and a modest books and periodicals request. It should be noted, too, that the special education teachers have the opportunity to request supplies that are not special education supplies, so things that you could use in a regular ed classroom. They can request through the regular instruction budget in Cost Center 1. Starting with line 52, this is the resource room salary line for a teacher at Libby Tozier, and this represents one of the reductions that was noted. If you want to speak to that, Marco and or Justin.
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, working with Justin and Jan, Jan, right? We talked a little bit about what we might be able to do as far as, programming is concerned and potential adjustments there with a position. We felt we could do that.
Line 53 is the ed techs for that programming. So you'll notice that there is quite a jump in that line. So this is one of the salary lines that's taking on an ed tech position that was in a different location last year. So from 1 last year to 2 this year at Libby Tozier in the resource room.
Sam, is that because they follow the student, or is it just because of the program?
I would say it's more fluid than that. I can let Justin speak to that, but I know he's always at my door with a staff change form, I feel like.
Yeah, sorry about that. Actually, in this case, really, it has to do with the teacher reduction. We are having another ed tech in the building to help us with that academic resource room instruction that will. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And line 73 is where the staff and benefit lines end for resource room at Libby Tozier, pardon me. And there are a small handful of discretionary lines. Again, Lexia software requested, and some small amounts of supplies and books and periodicals. Any questions about resource room at Libby Tozier? Okay. Lines 78 through 102 are the old Sabatis primary lines, so this and the projected budget year are zeroed out, where there was programming there in prior years. That brings us to line 103, which begins the resource room programming at the high school. So for teachers in that program, we have 2 special education resource room teachers. That's consistent to last year. We have 2 ed techs in that program, which is up 1 from last year. We also have the special education social worker that was mentioned in the slides. So that position is housed at the high school and is paid for out of the special education budget. And then the salary and benefit lines end at line 132. And the discretionary requests for resource room at the high school are lines 133 to 139. You'll see a decrease in the request for instructional software because they have decided not to use, I believe, Lexia and are just sticking with the RAS Kids software, so there's a decrease in that line. Any questions on resource room at the high school? All right. On the bottom of this page, there are 2 accounts, line 140 and 141. Those represent public school out-of-district placements. So, namely, this is Gartley in Lisbon, and we currently have 1 placement that we are budgeting for at the 950 level. So you'll see that in line 140.
Sam?
Mm-hmm.
I know, Marco, I know this is probably a long way out, but that was one of the things with the addition that we were planning on, keeping our out-of-placement in place. Keeping our out-of-placement in place, saving us, that money going out, or maybe even taking in some students. So, I guess, future, I think that really has to be something that we have to look at.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, Robbie. I mean, there is cost to the startup of
Right.
something like that, right? When we talk about hiring professionals who are trained, as far as equipment is concerned, any of the necessary items we need to get our program up and running. Really, I think what it comes down to right now is space, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest question mark. Like, where would we put a program like that?
Yeah.
Who knows what the future holds, Robbie? And I say this, and I'll turn it over to Justin here in just a second. But there's potential, and not that I would want to see this happen necessarily, but if there is a continued reduction of students, in the school district, that it may open up space for that to happen. Now, what that looks like, or where, or
Yeah.
when, I mean, I have no idea. But just thinking the potential of a long-term plan there, it's something that we could consider, Robbie.
Yeah, well, I know when we built the middle school, that was part of that, and we did take out of placement students.
No, you did at one
Yeah.
point in time. No kidding.
Yeah, when we first opened. Yeah.
Okay. Justin, was there anything more that you wanted to add to that? Did I cover that?
No, it's something that's definitely, always on the radar, and I agree. It's the space piece is the biggest barrier right now. We'd love to be able to consider that, but we got to figure out where we would put the program before we would move too far ahead. So,
yeah, appreciate the question, Robbie. Thanks.
I have a question too related to that as well. Is there any possibility of maybe joining another district together to work on something?
Yeah, I mean, that's a wonderful idea. I would ask Justin to answer that. I mean, I just think about, and you guys get this. It's just like this bus garage piece, right? Like, we're sharing costs, which means that we're saving money, which is huge. So, and I don't know, Justin, like the viability of something like that, or what that might look like. Oh, actually, what I was thinking too is just like even like Margaret Murphy, like just one of the. Yeah, I'll be quiet. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, there's. Definitely open to talking to other districts. There's also opportunities where places like Margaret Murphy will actually come into your district and provide programming.
Yeah.
So that saves on transportation costs. But again, it comes down to like where would we put this program right now? So that's the big piece. But if we can determine a space in the near future or at some point, we would definitely dive into that. So.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Diane. Thank you.
All right. So we're at line 142, which begins our in-depth look at the self-contained programming in our schools. So we'll go through Carrie Ricker, middle school, Libby Tozier, etc. So line 142 is the salary line for self-contained programming at Carrie Ricker. So we have 2 special education teachers budgeted there. The next line is the ed tech line there. So we have 7 special education self-contained ed techs budgeted there. That is a significant drop from last year because we had 9 budgeted there last year. There was a lot of unknowns with the SPS closure. So that became a place where we placed some of the ed techs that were moving from Sabatis Primary, and Justin did a great job of moving staff where they needed to be throughout the year to support student programming. Those staff and benefit lines carry through to line number 163, and some small requests for supplies in the FLS self-contained program at Carrie Ricker for some hands-on activities and books and periodicals there. Any questions on the account cluster for self-contained at Carrie Ricker?
About how many kids is that service?
I do not
Self-contained.
know.
The caseloads, we're talking Carrie Ricker, are around 12 or 13. So, and that's times 2, right? So there's 12 or 13 in the behavior support program and 12 or 13 in FLS. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Sorry. What was for anybody watching? Oh, sorry about that. Functional life skills.
Yeah.
For anybody watching at home, right, Teresa? Yeah.
Okay, so line 166 begins the account cluster for self-contained programming at the middle school. So we have 2 special education teachers budgeted there. We have 4 special education ed techs budgeted there. That's down 1 from last year. So there were 5 there last year. That's why you're seeing it dip. In that program, we do have 2 additional ed techs, but they are funded through the local entitlement grant that Justin oversees. So the staff and benefit lines for that program go on to line 187. And then lines 188 through 190 represent small discretionary requests for supplies, books, and periodicals within that account cluster. Any questions on self-contained programming at the middle school?
How many kids in that program as well?
So we have 14 behavior support. So we have 14 in the behavior support and 11 in FLS right now, functional life skills.
Okay, line 191 begins Libby Tozier's self-contained program. So for a teacher salary there, we have 1 budgeted professional, and we have 3 ed techs budgeted at Libby Tozier in that program. Those staff and benefit lines continue to line 212, and then a small amount of requests for supplies and leveled readers and books and periodicals for that program. Any questions on self-contained at Libby Tozier? Okay. Next one will be fast from line 215 to line 235. That is the Sabatis primary self-contained line. So those are zeroed out this and next year due to the closure. And that brings us to line 236, which is the self-contained program at the high school. There are 2 special education teachers there, same as last year. And there are 2 special education ed techs budgeted there. Last year it was 3, so one of them moved to the other program at the high school. And you'll notice that these account lines were zeroed out 2 years ago and FY24 as well. So again, Justin joined us in FY25 and really started to grab a hold of our programming and making sure that things were allocated and coded correctly. Those salary and benefit lines go through line 257, and there's a small request for functional life skills supplies for incentives in that program in line 258.
And how many kids at that level? I missed the other one. I should have asked you the other one as well.
Yeah, so
we can get it to you, Diane. It's no problem.
Yeah, 12 in functional life skills at the high school. And then there's 18 on the caseload for the behavior support, but some of those are outplay students, so it's closer to probably 15.
And then did you want the one prior?
Yes.
And
Is it
what was
Libby-
the?
it was Libby Tozier?
Libby Tozier,
Yeah.
Yep, so our self-contained teacher has 9 students on their caseload right now.
So no kids identified as FLSS.
So at that level, we kind of have them trying to tease out the best option, but we don't have separate behavior support and functional life skills programming there.
Any idea what next year projected coming in?
Yeah, we do. So right now, with the 4-year-olds, we have actually 27 students, but 13 of those are speech alone. 14 of them have some form of specially designed instruction. So, I would say we have 2 on our radar that might need outplacements right from the get-go. And then the remainder of the students, I feel like we are going to be able to program for in our district based on what we have now. Yeah.
Does the state pay for any of these kids who are in outplacement?
If they're a state agency client, they do. There's also, and I forget the name of the form, maybe you remember, but like there's a report we fill out for high cost out of district students, and there's some
EFS 07.
funding that's associated with that. But
It's the EFS 07.
yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, so line 258 takes us to the end of the school-based self-contained programs. And then line 259 and 261 are significant. Those represent our private out-of-district tuition costs, which is the lion's share of our out-of-district placement tuition costs. So jointly, and they're two separate lines. Again, the state requires specific coding. So the last three digits of 950 represent students K through 8, and the last three digits 990 represent students 9 through 12. So those two lines together represent an increase of 93,500 roughly from last year. So significant increase in the cost for out-of-district tuition and out-of-district placements. This is these are the two lines that would be impacted if the board elected not to do a special ed reserve account. Then Justin would advocate and is advocating for an additional 75,000 to be put into these two lines for a potential additional out-of-district placement. So our number has hovered around 1920 pretty consistently, but as he mentioned, the swing at the end of this year has him anxious that we will not have funds to cover if something doesn't happen, like we have someone move out. Again, that's why the recommendation from your administrative team is to create that special ed reserve account, because it's not asking for any additional tax dollars, but it does give us from our fund balance the ability to expend those funds if we have the instance where we bump up to 21 and we don't have someone move out like they have to kind of keep the number balanced like it has been in the past. So again, it's from funds that would come out of our fund balance that we've already collected, so it keeps it away from an increase in the general fund so that you're having to ask for more tax monies from the taxpayers. And if you don't expend it in FY27, it stays in that piggy bank and is providing that same safety net in a future year if you have someone move in that was unanticipated. And I believe the amount for that was 75,000. Yeah, if I didn't mention it. Questions on that?
Justin, can you just let maybe people who are watching or other board members who might not know, what are some reasons why kids would be outplaced?
Yeah, their behavior exceeds what we can support them with in the public school setting. Or in other instances, it's around like, severe cognitive deficits, communication difficulties, which are more of our Margaret Murphy profile of student. So, those are just some of the reasons. But what it comes down to is we get to a point where we've exhausted all our options in district to support a student, and we feel like they need some specialized programming. So.
Thank you.
This brings us to line 262. You're good? All right, perfect. This brings us to line 262, which starts that very small micro account cluster that I mentioned, which represents hospital or homebound students. So we traditionally place a very small placeholder in there in case we have to pay for tutoring services for a student that qualifies for this. So not any fluctuation from last year's recommendation. And then line 271 begins the administration account cluster. So this is the section of accounts that pays for our special ed director of special services, and then 2 special ed administrative assistants that work to support the special ed department in the district. The staff benefit and deduction lines go through line 287. And then you have some discretionary lines for this account cluster, some specific requests for employee training and development, the secretary conference, the MADSEC conference, which is for Director Kelleher. And we also have safety care training fees. So we do have safety care trained staff here, but we have, I believe, what's called train the trainers. And that's the fee that we pay for that training so that they can implement in the district those safety care practices. We also budget for legal fees for special education, postage for students' record requests, and then some other discretionary lines, supplies, etc. that carry down through line 294. Any questions on that account cluster? Okay. Line 295 is the behavioral day treatment expense line, which is what we talked about on the slides that were covered by Main Care Seed when we discussed that. So again, this is the expense line that we have seen sharp increases in the last 5 to 6 years. So we've budgeted an additional 100,000 in that expense line. I will be shocked if we don't exceed that. So that's a conservative budget increase, even though it feels like a lot. And then line 297, EDMS is the special ed software program that is used to track and maintain student IEPs and 504s. So we pay a fee for that service. And then line 298 begins the special education services account clusters, which again represents psych, PT, OT, and speech services that we provide for students within the district. So these are all grouped together, and you'll see that they kind of shift between salary and benefits to contracted services. So an example of that, if you look at line 298 down to 304, that chunk of accounts represents the new school psychologist position that Justin brought to you this year and advocated for, so that we would have one consistent psych provider within the district that would work with our staff consistently rather than contracting that service out to multiple vendors. We offset that cost by putting contracted services for speech, OT, and PT into local entitlement and more travel, I believe it was, or transportation as well.
Yeah.
So that position is budgeted new this year. So it wasn't budgeted for last year. We made an adjustment to improve services brought forward to students. So that's the first year that you'll see that group of accounts represented in the budget. But you can see in line 305, and then I'll point out some other contracted. You'll see in line 305 and some other contracted services lines how those have decreased. And we've moved monies out of the general fund for those services and into local entitlement, kind of a flip-flop to account for that psychology position. So I'll give you just some time to look at those services lines, which are quite lengthy. They go on. Like I said, they cover speech, OT, PT. So you can follow those all the way down to line 340 and see the services that we provide our students in the district. But let me know if you have any questions on those. Line number 314 is another example of contracted services that was reallocated to local entitlement. Line number 314 is another example of contracted services that was reallocated to local entitlement, again, to make way for a staffing position for psychology in the general fund. Now, you can pay for a staff position in the local entitlement grant, but they charge you an arm and a leg for the Maine State retirement. So that's why we did the flip-flop. We could have put the staffing position there, but we'd be paying extra for the same Maine State retirement for that employee. It's just a function of federal funding. So being smarter and trying to use those federal funds wiser, we're putting the services there and not people there. Line 326 and 329 are also examples of service lines that have been reduced and moved to local entitlement. Any questions on services, which end at 340?
Sam, do we have a speech person in school, or
Yes,
is it?
we have two.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know for a while we were doing.
Yep.
Wasn't one of
Yep,
the schools doing one on a computer?
Yeah, we do use a did you want to speak to that, Justin? Because you can.
I can if you want. Yeah, we have two in-person speech providers, and at the middle school we do use we contract with someone to provide virtual services to a small number of students. Yeah, works a little bit better with the older students than the younger kids.
Yeah.
What's the difference with, or why do we have 298 and 330? So what are the contracted services for?
So I
Is that the?
yeah, we left a small amount in there. From time to time, we have a situation where, someone maybe will contest an evaluation that the district did, or we need a specialized evaluation that maybe is outside of the expertise of our school psychologist. So we just left a little money in there in case that happens.
Thank you.
Great question. I'm just seeing people still flipping, so I was trying to give some wait time. That's okay. All right, so that brings us to line 341, which is our last cluster of accounts tonight. It's so exciting. So this is the extended school year budget that Marco mentioned, again, like summer school for our special ed students. So this is primarily staff. The staffing recommendations from Director Kelleher are very similar to last year. And the very last line, which is line 353, is just a meager supply request to support that programming. But that ESY budget is up just about $3,600 compared to last year of FY26. Any questions on extended school year? Okay. That brings us to the end of Cost Center 2. So all told, like we have on the slide here, we are just over $5.5 million in Cost Center 2. We're up just over 93,000, almost 94,000 from FY26, which is 1.73%. So just kind of summarizing where that's coming from, the major increases are that $100,000 in tuition, which would be $175 if we don't want to do a reserve account, which we can go either way. Just know that the budget would fluctuate if we decided not to do a reserve account. Also, nearly $100,000 in the behavioral day treatment line. But the reduction, offsetting that is one teacher reduction. So I'm just going to tell Justin a little bit here because he didn't mention it. I know that he's recommending a staff reduction in the resource room at Libby Tozier, but I want this board to remember that he spearheaded us being involved in the early childhood cohort, which at no cost to local dollars has brought in 3 additional staff members so far this year to support students. I know it's brought in additional students as well, but there is shared support with that new staffing with our existing students prior to those pre-K grade or 4-year-olds. So, and again, just wanted to note lots of movement in that last services section that we looked at to offset going from local entitlement to support that school psychologist, which has been a good addition to our team. Any questions on Cost Center 2? Robbie?
Yeah, Justin and Marco, I'm going to kind of play devil advocate and ask the questions that I get asked sometimes. What's the total number of special ed students in our district compared to other districts? Are we close, high, or, the perception is that we're way too lenient by allowing special ed in? And what's the consequence if we don't offer these services to these students?
So I can't speak to, I'd have to do a little research, Robbie, on what other districts are at, but we're at 301 right now, and that includes the 4-year-olds.
Right.
We historically, the past couple of years have been around like 275, 280. That it's held pretty steady. I mean, to speak to your point about are we too lenient, I do feel like we do a pretty good job of exhausting
Right.
what resources we have before we identify students. And I also think bringing our new school psychologist on board has helped that a lot. And I won't go into the weeds with that,
Right,
but
yeah.
doing thorough, comprehensive evaluations and consulting with teachers beforehand has really helped. So,
And I try and tell people when they ask that question that special ed is so fluctuating with different services, different students coming in and going out. You know, it's hard to nail it down, but they're looking at, you know, an overall number for the amount of students that we're giving these services to, and they think it's astronomical that we're, you know, over $5 million for, you know, that number of students.
yeah, man, I would just say off the cuff, I'm not sure of any district that I'm aware of that special ed services are currently decreasing.
Right.
I could be wrong, but it's kind of increasing everywhere right now.
But
so,
I mean, I know you get them, you get those questions, Diane, and it's like when I try and say, you know, if you have specific questions, call the superintendent. You know, and we'll try to answer them. But I guess to my question is, you know, when they say, well, we offer way too many services, what would be the consequence if we didn't offer those services? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, we'd be talking about lawsuits is what we'd be talking about, is what it comes down to, right? Yeah, I don't want to do that right now. So, you know, but that's what it would be, right? If we're legally supposed to be providing a service for a student and we just don't, like, that's not okay. That's not okay.
I'm glad to see that we're having a school psychologist that's going to do all the testing because it's more consistent. We had that in the past.
Yeah.
And it's beneficial for teachers and students as well, and as the parents as well. You have the same person all the time. It's just much, much better.
Yeah. It really has been a game changer for us. So
Appreciate the feedback. That's good. All right. Is there anything else, Sam, from the old line by line that you wanted to do? Or are you good? Okay. All right. I guess we'll go back to the presentation. But we've got some upcoming budget meetings. We'll be hanging out with each other pretty regularly for the month of March. So our next budget meeting is next Wednesday, the 4th, and that's so we have cost centers 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. On the 11th, we'll have cost centers 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then on the 18th, we'll discuss adult education, school nutrition, revenue, and the ED 279. And then, you know, obviously there's a couple other meetings in there if need be. The 1st and then the 15th would be what we're looking for as far as our board budget approval. So, and that's from this group here. So
I'd
that's
say by the 15th, you might not be cold, Diane.
So that's you know, that's the meeting, I guess. Yeah, so I appreciate that, Sam. So Sam just mentioned that, you know, we would need to know like some direction about that reserve account by the 11th. We really, you know, would like, just so we can plan and prep, because it does take Sam, I shouldn't say us, it takes Sam some work to get that material ready for everyone, just to make sure that we've got it ready to go, because that's something that has to be voted on in the district-wide budget meeting that we hold at the high school. Teresa, go right ahead.
Connected to that, I was wondering how much the fund balance is that we would be pulling money from.
Like how much money is currently in fund balance that we would be pulling from?
So tricky question, because our audit is not done. So once it's final, I'll have a definitive number. But looking at everything that is done and complete so far, I think we're going to be in a very similar place to last year, right around 1.3 million. So I feel comfortable with the 75 allocated, and you'll see too later as we get to that, like continuing to put monies into the capital improvement fund would be a plan, so that we have long-term monies available for bigger projects that we don't want to swing the budget by $800,000 to do a roof, that kind of thing. But we also don't want to borrow and have to pay interest as well. So we'll come forward with those recommendations as well. But where we are right now, I feel comfortable with what we're going to bring forward to you.
And the percentage increase that you have right now, Marco, the 1.42, is not pulling money from the fund balance at all to reach that?
Yes. Yeah. On the revenue side, is that what you mean, Teresa? Yeah, it does have a promise of fund balance to offset.
Okay.
So remember that when we're thinking of budget, we have the expenditure side over here. So right now, our expenditures are up 1.42% year over year, right? To meet that on the revenue side, we are going to promise some fund balance to lower the tax burden.
Okay.
Okay? And we'll cover that on the 18th.
Getting ahead. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's a good question, Teresa. You're good. All right. Anything else around the old board presentation? Ooh, huh?
I don't know. We could do a thumbs up if we want. Right now for Sam.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, right. Muddy the waters. It's right.
Do you guys want to do a thumbs up
On
the reserve, special education
Oh, yeah.
reserve?
Yeah.
So not an actual motion,
Right.
but yeah.
A temperature. Are you guys hot or cold? What's that? I like
You're
that.
big
Jen.
on piggyback.
How about-
and
Sorry.
if you don't know yet, just
Yeah.
go sideways. Right? So thumbs up, thumbs down, or sideways.
It's late, Doug. It's good, bud. You're good.
Looks like you're
All right. Well, we appreciate that, and
proceed with that so that
Yeah.
we can see. Yeah.
right. Yeah, we can keep talking about it.
So sorry. It gets mad at me whenever I ask for the microphone back. Just checking in on data requests that I heard tonight because I want to make sure we're prepared for you next week when we come back together. Robbie, I heard you request salary and benefits by cost center, so we can do that. And then I heard a request for share center usage, like what folks buy. With them closing their doors, there's no way we're going to get that information from them. So I'm thinking it'll probably be anecdotal from whatever staff are willing to give us some feedback. Diane, you asked a lot about special ed caseloads. Are you satisfied with what you heard tonight? Okay, beautiful. And Robbie, you had a special ed question. Are you good with your count compared to other districts?
Yeah.
Or, okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Anything else on budget discussion?
I'm not sure if this is in, I don't think it's in this one, but the sports stipends, where would that be in number 4? Okay. I will not be here next week, but I'd like to see us put field hockey for the middle school into the budget. You have a lot of attendance, kids very young that are in that sport, and I'd like to see us put that in the budget.
Yeah, we can come back with a number for you, what that would look like.
To board comments.
All right.
Anything else for budget and for next week's meeting? Prep. Okay. On to board comments. Anybody?
Microphone, Robbie.
If we put it in the school budget,
Go ahead, Robbie.
yeah, I know the field hockey piece, Diane. If we put it,
Yeah.
Robbie.
You-
Microphone, Robbie.
if we put it in the school budget, does that mean that the rec club will lose that program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Not unless they want to run a competing team.
But I know they have wanted to do that for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know football came to us too years ago,
mhm.
and for 7th and 8th grade football, am I right? Oh, Brian's gone. He ran out before I did that. But I know we had mentioned football before.
Yeah.
That same thing.
Yeah, just the cost that's involved.
just the
That's all.
cost.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just something to be mindful of. That's all. So, I mean, we can come back with an estimated number, Diane. I know, like you said, you won't be here next week, but we'll make sure that everybody has the information.
Well, I have a lot of parents calling me and asking me to put that forward. So
Sure, I appreciate that, Diane. You're doing your due diligence. Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Just want to thank all of you for working hard on your budgets and the administrative teams. It looks like you really tried to think outside the box with things like bulk purchasing, moving the GT allocations for future years for the 279. It's just a lot of details that you were able to put together, and starting at 1.42. I mean, that's huge. Yeah, it's not zero, but it's way less than when I've been a part of attending town, the meetings in the gym, and just appreciate all that extra work and the sacrifices and the that everyone did, and teachers' thoughtfulness and admin teams and you at central office for all your hard work.
Thanks, Teresa.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Yeah, I have this. I have the same comment. I don't want anybody to think that 1.42 is a miss on our goal. So I'm looking at you, and maybe hopefully you can trickle down that message. When you look at the dollars and in special ed, but it only increased 93. When you look at all the dollars involved with our teacher salary, and it only increased 123. That shows a huge reduction, a huge combing through each line item. And although I think flat funding is it's good to have dream. 1.42 I think is a very good place to be. Hopefully. Thank you so much for all of that hard work, and I commend each and every one of you for that.
Make sure we pass it along.
And with